Iron sharpening iron, hit a spark when we speak. Stronger together, yeah, we building each week. Each one reach one, yeah, the whole world know. Big Jack, story time, walk, talks, let's go.
All right, all right. Welcome to the Iron Sharpening Iron Show. I'm your man, Big Jack. This is my man, Walt Talks. And this
Hey,
is where we prove we are stronger together, that if each one would reach one, we can all grow and glow. And Walt, I got one for you, man. Have you
so
ever been in a situation where you was addicted to something?
oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely,
So
absolutely,
now,
absolutely.
did you use any type of therapy, anything to get over the addiction, or what was going on with that?
It's crazy, man. Well, two things I stand on: what you resist only persists, right?
Mm,
So, uh, I try to let everything come through me, because the more you try to stay away from something, the more it comes at you, right?
right.
But when I do find that I'm spending even something as simple as scrolling, right?
Mm,
Uh, I've just, man, got out of scrolling put myself on a diet for the last 30 days. I've been playing more mind games, right?
mm.
Um, my two weaknesses as far as food addictions, and when I'm going to say addiction, because I think addiction is something being bad for me. I love grapes and I love ice cream, bro.
Oh,
So, so I got to govern myself accordingly. But I fortunately, for me, pretty much everything has been in moderation, and I've worked my way out of whatever before it got to a point where it was bad, of course, other than golf and motorcycles and stuff
yeah,
like that. So
yeah,
yeah, but I try to just when I see something, when I get to a point where I feel like I can't stay away from something, I make it my business to stay away from it, even
yeah.
down to drinking coffee in the morning. I started drinking green tea for about 30 days, and then I'll get back to just to see if I'm addicted, because the old adage is Richard Pryor had a joke. I've been doing this for 30 years. I ain't hooked. You know what I
I got
mean?
you.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
I got you.
that's what it
So look,
is,
on
man.
today's show, and if you're
Mhm.
walking in and you're popping in here now, you're in the right place. If you're dealing with something or have dealt with something and trying to figure out how to get around it, our guest today is going to help us with that. So
Oh wow.
we're gonna
Okay.
talk to our guest. We get him up on the stage,
All right.
and I'm looking forward to learning some things today. So if you're ready, my brother, we're gonna get a man
Hey
up
man,
here.
I didn't know I was being used for the segue, man. That was pretty good. I see what you did. Okay, I see what you did because I don't think people realize that I don't know who's
No,
coming.
no,
I don't know
nope,
what's
you don't
happening.
know. You
Okay,
don't know
got
none
you. I
of
don't
it. So yeah, yeah.
use me as a
No,
segue. All right, hey man,
100%.
I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but a butter knife is always appreciated.
Well,
So
that's good. Well, let's get
yeah,
our man up on the
my
stage
man,
so
let's
we
happen.
can
Let's get happen.
learn some things today. All right.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Thank you.
So thank you all and welcome to the Iron Sharpening Iron Show. Let's get our guests up on the
Welcome.
stage. Alfredo, how you doing, my man? What's going on?
Very good, guys. Just coming in here and very glad to be invited in your podcast.
Oh,
Thanks
well,
for coming.
welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the Iron Sharpening Iron Show. We thank you for being a guest. Want to let you know right now we are live on YouTube. We're live on Facebook.
On
We're
YouTube
live
and
on
Facebook.
Twitch, and we will be after the show making some shorts out of it and put into Instagram and all the other little social media platforms. But we definitely want to thank you for being here with us today. And we're going to ask you for all those who are watching, and thank you all for popping in and watching. Tell us a little bit about yourself, sir.
Well, my name is Alfredo Zapata. I'm originally from Mexico. I'm born and raised in Mexico City in the 60s. So it was kind of like a very different Mexico, like in other countries as well. I'm the only child from a single mom. And I was always fascinated with different things and discovering growing up. Without a father, I was always questioning things, why the light shines, why the flowers bloom in different seasons, and always very intrigued about things and asking. My grandpa was one of the uh, great figures that taught me a lot of things like carpentry, like sewing, like nailing and different things. So I was very excited. But what I discovered early on, around 5 years old, I grew up in a business district, so there was not too many like a neighborhoods with kids and stuff. But I was watching football, soccer.
Mm,
Like I was very much in Mexico, the main thing. And I started asking my mom, can I go and walk around the block? So she said, well, careful. And because weekends it was like very quiet, there was no many people around. So I started walking and feeling like trying to have something like a special power or something, like superhero. And I felt like, well, I don't have a dad. And, coming in these countries back then, it was kind of difficult, single mom and only child. Normally, Mexican families and other countries as well, they have four, five, six more kids. So I was always, even though I had a lot of love, I felt like I need something. I need something to kind of grasp and feel like it was my own, besides my toys.
mm,
So walking started kind of give me some sense of I can control my body. It wasn't too much of like, going to football, soccer, or going to camp or things like that. And then I started kind of jogging a little bit because football, soccer, it was kind of like something interesting me. But I started feeling like after I moved my body for a little bit around the block, something like some stamina, something start going inside of my body. And I felt like, wow, it feels good. And
mm,
I didn't jog with my sneakers and shorts. It was kind of like just whatever my mom custom for me to dress. So it was kind of like very much genuine, just moving my body. And just a young child at that time, it feels like, wow, this feels good. And
mm,
then my uncle, who I grew up with very close, he was going to play soccer on the weekends. And he was probably like around 30. And I say, Uncle, can you take me to go to watch you play soccer? And he said, no, because that's for adults and you're too young and I go pretty early, so no, forget it. So I said, well, how can I get my uncle to take me because I wanted? So I was very interested. After I moved my body a little bit outside on the business district, I put the alarm clock. I dressed with my shorts and my sneakers, for football, and the alarm went off. And I said, Uncle, I'm ready. It was 6 a.m. And he says, are you sure? Are you really want to obey and do whatever I say? Because it's cold and it's for adults. And he said, yeah, I don't care. I just want to go. Take me. So it was around, entering the winter time in Mexico. It wasn't snowing, but it was cold. So he started saying, okay, we're going to start jogging this way. You're going to inhale, you're going to go a couple strolls and exhale. And, the air was kind of cold. So football, soccer started becoming my new strength
mm,
as young adult, kind of start growing up. And I play martial arts. I did Taekwondo, Shotokan. And then Bruce Lee was on the scene.
Oh man, my
And
man.
Enter of the Dragon, and I feel like this guy was gonna rip, and I said, "Wow, this guy looks good." And after done, like 4 years of Shotokan and Taekwondo, and I said, "My uncle, you know what? I didn't want to say I quit martial arts, but I want to do some exercise with at the gym. I want to do
mm,
some bodybuilding because Bruce Lee looked ripped, and I want to
mm,
be like that." So he said, "Are you sure?" Even though my uncle was my sparring in the last parts of Taekwondo. And I said, yeah, I'm sure. So I started doing the bodybuilding training and exercising. And I saw some of the Mr. Mexico pumping iron and stuff. And I said, wow, that feels good. So exercise became part of my new identity that was my own. I didn't, tell everybody that I was, the fitness guy or anything. It was just kind of growing up, giving me that kind of safe place where I will cope with the insecurities of being the only child, with insecurities of being around kids and saying, "Where's your dad?" and things like that. The bullying that has been in many decades in different places affecting young kids, right? So
Hmm.
that was my upbringing, and there's more of the story. Now I call my life a Netflix series
oh,
because there's
okay.
a bunch of seasons with a lot of chapters.
Right. All
Okay.
right. Well,
Bunch of
we
seasons with a lot of
we
chapters. That's
thank
good.
you, and I think we all got that Netflix series in us. I like the way you broke that down. I
Hmm.
want to thank you because you are the first guest we've had, so I want to make sure I get this right. Are you still in Mexico right now? Is that
Yeah, because that was the other season.
okay?
Once I start, kind of getting a little more
Hmm.
in the teenager uh, years, I start kind of trying to feel kind of more into it, And
Yeah.
downstairs, it was a neighbor. They were kind of like the ones that were taking care of this facility. They were live several people, and he started playing rock, English rock music.
Mm,
The
Okay.
Beatles and the
right.
Creedence and
Hmm.
different music. So I grew up with the cumbia and the salsa and all the rhythms in
Mm.
Mexico, even though they play some. But this guy was kind of like underneath where we live, so he will play some of those songs. The Beatles, the Creedence, the Doors. So I start kind of going with different music styles
Mm,
and maybe some the other groups. So it was a good learning, even though the English for me was difficult.
right. Right.
I will say just from 1 to 10 maybe, and then ABC and things like that. But that was it.
Right.
So trying to fit in, I felt like I needed something to get noticed because I wasn't the tall guy, blue eyes, and good physique.
Yeah,
So I
neither are
felt like
we.
For
I
real.
felt like I needed to do something, but I was very insecure because I was trying to pretend and not being myself. So exercise was kind of my hidden place, even though it was kind of showing a different approach in the society world. Kind of like,
Right.
well, yeah, you're getting a little bit stronger, some of the muscles showing up and things, and trying to be with the girls, and so it was kind of like a limping in some way
Mm,
because I mess up on high school and then on college as well. And I feel kind of down because my mom said, "Well, your dad was a doctor, and you said when you were growing up that you want to be a doctor. So
mm,
she didn't say you must be a doctor." But anyway, I felt to enter the university because I
mm,
was kind of like just playing around. I wasn't drinking yet,
mm.
but I was trying to just to get around showing off without being real.
Okay.
And then my mom said, "Well, yeah, I feel sad because you kind of betray some of the confidence, even though she wasn't like really going on my case. But I feel like pretty bad because I said, how can I make it up to my mom, even though I was exercising and I was
Hmm.
pretending to be the healthy young adult, and but school was missing. So there was a nutrition career coming up in this technical university. And I said, well, I'm exercising, I'm eating well, I'm pumping muscles. So nutrition for me was kind of like the ideal place to jump in and trying to make it up for all the years of messing up. And I say, Mom, I want to make it up. Give me a chance. This new nutrition degree is coming up and I wanted to join.
Mm,
And she said, well, are you sure? And then my uncle said, well, I sponsor you if you promise your mom and to me that you're going to be studying and applying you to this new opportunity. So end up being immersed into that nutrition and going to the hospital and, anatomy, physiology, and all the different things. And it will kind of like a breeze for me because I was already reading some of those magazines. It was
right.
coming up, I think, Muscle and Fitness and Flex Magazine and things like that. And I was trying to interpret whatever they said because it wasn't translated in
Just about
Spanish.
to ask you that.
It was an
Right.
English one, and I started getting into it. But soon to that place, a good friend of mine started kind of getting along with me, and he was very the party person. He was organizing meals and brunches for the teachers and the professors, but there was alcohol included in those gatherings. So I started participating, trying to fit in as a social drinking. And that's when it became my Jack and Mr. High identity
Okay.
Mm.
because During school time, I was, very add to it and studying and stuff. But later on, this guy was say, Alfredo, why don't you help me out? We're gonna prepare some brunch for these professors who are helping us with the subjects because sometimes we'll kind of mess up in the subjects, and the doctors and the professors will help us because we'll shower them with the nice meals. We cook,
mm,
we prepare, we had some drinks, and the professor sooner or later they will say, "Okay, we're gonna give you a break with the grades." So anyway, it was kind of another way for me to start falling into that place, that
okay.
dark place of insecurity.
Mm.
Mm.
And
So Alfred, let me. I'm gonna have to cut you for a second. I just want to ask some questions on this. So I want to just get this straight. You are in Mexico, so you are the first guest we had that's in Mexico. So I want to thank you for being
Yes.
that person. We've had Mexicali, but we never had, I think,
Mexico.
anyone that was Mexico.
Mexico.
sure.
And then the other side to this, that your safe places, my understanding is you found a safe place in working out, like fitness and growing up, like I say, is an only child, single mom. But I'm hearing a lot because I know Walt he could touch on that because. But you said your uncle, so you mentioned your uncle several times. So even
Yeah.
though he wasn't a biological father, as a lot of look for the mother father, but having a
Mhm.
male figure in your life that can give you some direction. So like I say, will you be listening to me when we go to the soccer field and this and that?
Mm.
That's right there is a lot more than a lot of people get. So that is already an advantage in yourself, that there's somebody that's already looking out for you, even to the point when you said that when you was going to the university, that this person said, I will sponsor you, I will help
Yeah.
you, I will help you get there. That's huge in itself. So those things that sometimes we don't, and I can say that, my dad was there and not there at the same time. So with that being said, it was like, having uncles that stepped in and took that role sometimes was huge for me because it kept me at least a little bit balanced and structured down because I gave my mom fits. I know that. And if she's in the chat, I apologize, mom, for giving you fits. But
Yeah.
I know I
Yeah.
did. But I just want to make sure I got that straight. So you say you talk about mind and body to become healthier. So what does it mean beyond just fitness and positive thinking? So putting that mind and body together, what does it mean besides just being fit and positive?
Well, what I realized after a few decades after that child started jogging on the streets, it was the mind and body connection. A lot of us in this 21st century have been missing, because if we look back of the cavemen, those guys were connecting the mind and the body to survive, because they were in the cave and they were come out
Right.
trying to be wise, not to get eaten by
Kill.
the
Yeah.
dinosaur or by the big animals, and they will try to hunt it so they can bring some food. So they were active, but they were with some way of wisdom to learn how to survive and go on in life. And right
Mm.
now, even though with technology and all the different urban facilities that we have, people are living from the neck down, and from the neck
Mm.
up is when we think and we see and we hear things, but we're disconnected. So later on, after I became a nutritionist and I had the opportunity to make a cold turkey decision and cross the border illegally, because that's another story on my Netflix series.
Mm-hmm.
I got to LA and I went to the mecca of bodybuilding, Gold's Gym in Venice, which I
Venice Beach.
spent more than 18 years learning and becoming a personal trainer. And in order to concise the connecting mind and body, I start teaching people how to really do a inventory using the mind to be aware of some of the different situations and habits that have been triggered by emotions. Like when you have a
Mm.
neck problem, you want to get rid of it. You don't want to look for the origin. You're just trying to accommodate. You put
Mm,
a cream, you put acupuncture, you change your chair for hammer mill chair, you put back support, but you don't know where it came from. You just want
I'm
to
from
quit
right,
right away that thing. And then the pharmaceutical industry in the world say, take a pill, take a
right.
shot, and let's see what happens. Or
Let's see what
the
happens.
marketing says this will kill the pain right away.
Yeah.
And then you saying, oh, that's great, because I need to go like a rat race, just moving on. I don't want to stop. I just want to fix it quick and go on. So when you do that, you don't really exist because you're always running from something behind you. So when you're able to do that inventory, you say, okay, Alfredo, you've been hurting because your back is aching, because you're sedentary, because you don't exercise. So your mind start getting in some way connected with the body reactions. So if the body hurts, your mind hurts because you're not in a good mood. Even though you're the top successful Tony Robbins and any of the top people with a big bank account, you're hurting. So it doesn't matter who you are, is that you're hurting. And how are you going to fix it? If you're not sober and saying, it's my chair. I'm not really having any non-negotiable healthy habits to preserve my body. And I teach in one of the conferences that I did before, and I said, we need to take charge of our health like you will take if you had a Ferrari. If you have a
Yes.
Ferrari auto, how are you gonna take it? You're gonna take it to the right around the corner mechanic who
Right.
maybe doesn't have the equipment? Or you gonna give him just the regular gas, or you gonna put the premium? Some of the top cars, they're not gonna work with the regular one. They're not even started. Are you gonna do nice wash and waxing, or you gonna take it to the professional? To your own means possible, your body, mind and body has to be taking care of that level,
Mm,
of a premium level, taking care of your health. So that way the connection of mind and body comes into that place. Some people say, Alfredo, but what about the spirit? And I say, well, if your mind is not clear, how can you comprehend that there is a spirit living inside of you if you're not healthy? Because you can be preaching and having all the verses of the Bible, which also I became a disciple in a Christian church in LA. But I'm saying, if you're not really preaching with example, it doesn't matter how educated you are. So the program is a change life habits in order to connect that mind and body. It doesn't happen overnight just because you join the gym and you get all the fancy clothes and then you go with the supplements. See, it goes with the habits. What do you do every day? The non-negotiables. Are you waking up early? Are you meditating? Are you exercising? Are you ask for a coach or an expert like a Tiger Woods or Kobe Bryant for a coach to tell you where to improve yourself?
mm.
Some people are afraid to face that.
So now, Alfredo, when did you start to realize this? And I know you said you were running the streets as far as exercising. You know, whatever you was wearing, you didn't have on special clothes. But so when did it hit you as far as like in the coaching when you realized this portion of yourself as far as the mind and the body being or needing to be connected? So were you in college at the time? Were you high school, or when did it actually that light come on and you say, "Oh, this is what we need"?
I kind of got some samples that came into my life, but I was afraid to take the compliments or to feel confident that who I was, because at the gym when I started doing some of the bodybuilding in Mexico, there was this gym from this Mr. Mexico that was pretty well known in the 70s, which I start kind of getting some knowledge from some of the guys that I saw working out, but also from the magazines. Then they will say, Tom Platz, well, you got to do one more rep, or
Mhm.
Arnold, and no pain, no gain with Mike
Right.
Manser. But I started kind of feeling like I was the connector with people because I will share some of the stuff that I read. And I said, well, this guy is saying that you got to do it this way. So I was kind of teaching in a way something that I learned later on when I was in LA and I went all these years learning and getting to know people in that field. Then I was becoming an expert. And one of my clients, one of the first clients that called me up on that, then I wasn't sure. I became a personal trainer. I started getting the training from an incredible group of people that taught me. Someone came into this sport facility. It wasn't Gold Gym. It was like just a regular chain of fitness clubs, and it was a entrepreneur guy from US, but he was in New Zealand, so he was building companies, and very well known guy. I didn't know who he was, so he came like a regular member. They assigned him to me, and I said, okay, well, my name is Alfredo, and what's your name? Oh, my name is Ruben. And okay, let me take your measurements. I'm gonna take your body fat. Where are your goals? You want to lose weight? You gotta get stronger. And it was a guy like in his 50s, and he said, well, what I want is just feeling healthy. I had some heart problems, but I wanted to, get going because my business and everything. So I did pretty much everything. Then I was by the book, which I was very excited because it was some of the first clients that I had, speaking English, learning to become a personal trainer. So it was like a new life for me. And then at the end, he said, Alfredo, well, I like your approach. I like how you handle things, and I want to sign up for the biggest package. How much is it? And I said, well, Mister, this is the price and the sessions, and we can meet several times depending on your schedule. And he said, that's great. He said, I'm in your hands because you are the expert. And I look around and I said, who is he
Mhm.
talking to? I was like 20 something years old, but I didn't know that that was an incredible teaching from above that says what you've been working on all these years without you noticing and without you accepting and admitting that you had that in you, like Les Brown says, you have something great in you. I feel
Mhm.
like, wow, this guy is calling me the expert. I didn't say why you call me the expert, but I feel like, is this guy joking me or something? And no, he was serious. And I said, okay, great. So this guy was my client for like more than 10 years. I helped him to go to hiking in Nepal. Then after I quit at that gym, I took him to Gold Gym like a private client. So he said, okay, Alfredo, well, that's great. Now you're independent contractor. So tell me how much you're gonna charge me. And I said, well, the same thing like at the gym. And he said, no. So I raised the price twice. He says, no, it's not good. I raised it three times. And he said, well, that's better, but it's not what you're worth because you're the
Mm.
expert. And again, that word hit me again, but I was kind of like trying to digest that expert mentality, that knowledge, not to feel proud and being with the ego to the roof, but feeling like I was contributing to a better life of someone. And that's when the connection of mind and body and the expert became to take more place because I feel they had something to share with people.
Right. Uh, No, that's a powerful story, and thank you for sharing that part because I lifted weights just a little bit in my life. I've been in the gym a couple of times, but I never got that I guess that connection with the mind and the body, and like you say, and I know from the verses and spiritual wise, your body is a temple and how you're supposed to treat it and all of that. So without a doubt on all of those things, but at the same time it does take a we say an expert, a subject matter expert on how to put the pieces together. So it sounds from everything I've heard so far, except I only say except you're saying being a single child and your father not being around, you didn't have anything, no adversity. So what adversity did you have to overcome? What was the biggest struggle did you have before you figured it out in a sense or became the expert? What was your biggest
Yeah,
struggle?
well, rewinding a little bit back on the chapter when I was in Mexico, and I was kind of ready to graduate from nutrition school. I started participating in some of those gatherings with some of the teachers and some friends, and start drinking socially. So it became my Jack and Mr. Hyde identity.
Mm,
I felt like with the alcohol, I was kind of going up to the roof to feeling sufficient, to feeling that I meant something in life. But I was start limping because I didn't want people to notice that, even though it became apparent. So my mom sometimes will say, Alfredo, uh, slow down. Or sometimes I will lie to my mom and say, I'm at the ER because a friend of mine got sick, so I'm gonna stay over. And I was partying and drinking with somebody else,
mm,
Wow.
And sometimes I will go to school and I will feel like I was very confused because I didn't know what to do to kind of get rid of that and to be more real with myself. I was afraid to face the reality. So I keep connected with this good friend at the gym. So he moved to LA to Gold's Gym, Mecca Bodybuilding, because a friend of his. So we were
Mhm.
connecting by phone. I said, "Oh, how you doing, Alex? Oh, very good. Have you seen Arnold? Have you seen Lou Ferrigno? Have you seen
Mhm.
some of those guys?" So I prepare. I got my passport, my visa, and everything, and I went into the border trying to visit this friend of mine, and something happened at the border. The officer got my papers, checked them out, and says, "One second." They came out and they canceled my passport, even
mm,
though I had visa, I had all the papers in straight, and I feel like, wow, I'm trying to do all these things, and
Right.
these people, you know, put me down all my expectations, all my dreams and everything. So I flew back very angry and I said, forget it. I'm not asked for permission. I'm gonna cross the border illegally. I called my friend and says, I cannot make it over there, Alex. How can I cross? So I tried to make the savings that I could. I told my mom I'm gonna go see Alex. And she said, are you sure? And I said, yes, I'm gonna go. So I said, I don't care. So that was one of my radical decisions, even though I was carrying the bag of the alcohol in my back,
Mm.
still went in and I went for like about 6 hours trying to cross with a group of people. There, one of these guys was trying to take us to go because we were hiding on the bushes, and the police, border patrol, they were trying to chase us. Some of them they got caught, but I was lucky to go to the curve and go to the freeway where there was a van, and they took us to LA.
mm,
And I went for a couple of years, before I start realizing that it wasn't life. I was in a different country, but I was the
Mhm.
same person trying to
Ah,
make it up, but limping with something that I was afraid to face. And after a little bit of time and live with some of the roommates, I end up living in a car
mm,
right across from Gold's Gym in the parking lot.
wow.
There was a couple of people who were coming from different countries trying to make it in the fitness industry and
Mhm.
Hollywood arena. And we were coming out at night out of our cars and drinking and kind of sharing. It was kind of like our crew away from the world. And I said, well, I'm the only Mexican. I'm a nutritionist. I'm in a different country, and I'm still have no future.
mm,
What was going to be if I don't do something? So this Saturday in 1992, I drove in this Nissan 280Z around the block trying to find some food, like around 3 in the morning. And I said, well, I don't know, but I'm hungry. So I end up parking in one of those AM PM mini markets with a gas station on it. And I enter, and there was no hot dogs, there was no hamburgers. And I said, well, how come? If it's 24 hours, you guys should have food. And the attendant says, well, if you don't leave, I'm going to call the cops. And I said, well, I'm illegal, even though I was kind of drunk. And I said, well, no, I got to go. So I left the car and I walk about 6 blocks to the parking lot and end up waking up the next day, Sunday, in one of my friend's car. So I said, well, light come, where's my car? And the other guy was snoring, and I come out, and the guy who do the car wash said, Alfredo, what happened? And I said, well, I don't know. I don't have my car. I don't know where is it. He said, where were you last night? Well, I said, well, I drove around the block looking for food, and I don't know what happened. So I blanked in that,
Mm.
few moments. And he said, hop on my car. Let's drive around and find out where were you, and maybe we can find your car. So we drove about, a few blocks, and there it was, the Nissan 280Z parked with all my belongings inside. And I said, wow, that's awesome. So I drove back, and that Sunday, that's when it hit me. And it says, my life is not what it could be, I guess, but I don't know where I should be. And if I keep doing the same thing, I don't know what my future gonna be. So I made it a cold turkey decision. Says no more
Mm.
alcohol, no more hiding, no more trying to pretend, and that's it. I didn't have a plan. Just the plan was that no more alcohol.
Mm.
I want to get things straight. I wasn't faced with some type of message from above. It was just, I guess, the strength that God gave me because I wasn't Christian at that time. I wasn't really religious, but I felt like it was a second chance for me. Because after that day on Monday, after a few challenging times, trying to get my mind off the bad behavior, I saw the world different. It wasn't the world,
Mm.
it was me changing the
You,
way I perceive things.
there you
And
go.
I guess God started opening doors because later on, someone at the gym invited me to church several times and I turned them down. And a few things happened after that. And I said, well, I think God is calling me, or I need to go to find out. Maybe there's something because I don't drink. I want to be a good thing. I'm a personal trainer and, I'm sober now. So there might be something there. And there it was at this meeting. It was like a United Nations meeting. It was from different countries, from Singapore, from China, from Russia, from everywhere. And they were talking about what it means to become a disciple.
Mm.
The preacher was somebody with a gown or anything. It was just like a regular guy speaking about it and talking what the Bible says about becoming a disciple, the commitment with with God and ourselves to really make that change.
Wow.
So that adversity of crossing illegally and quitting cold turkey was what made me realize there's another way to live.
Now you got me, and I know Walter through you standing up, so we go get some things. But
Oh no,
um,
no, I'm
now I'm
man.
intrigued on this thing because we hear a lot, and we know because of the news and things like that, and we hear about border crossings and things like that. But I've never talked to anyone who actually said they've done it. So here we are again on the Iron Sharpening Iron Show, very first for me. And but your story is different because you was coming in a sense, as you said, just to visit a friend. You wanted to see. You had no intentions of when you got to the border the first time. You said they basically vetoed your visa, wouldn't let you come in. So you said, all right, if you ain't gonna let me come in this way, I'm gonna come in another way. With all that being said to the side, I'm more intrigued about the journey, the what went on that night. You know, like I say, you're saying being chased by border patrol and and to get into the van, and some people didn't make it and all of that. So now we see why the running and all that exercise came in handy, because you don't have to be the fastest person, you just can't be the slowest person. Now, I mean, we talk about that with a bear chasing you in the woods,
It's
but
all run the
what
fat
went?
guy.
Yeah, don't be the big guy. There you go. So, but at the same time, what was the mindset? What was going on in your mind when you was facing that? The possibility of being caught. I mean, at no time did you say that you was a person that was a criminal or you did wrong like that. I mean, did you think about how your mom's going to feel or your uncle going to feel if you had got caught? Because I'm sure there's consequences with that. So what was that mindset? What was that drive like that night? If you can take us back to that time.
It was a bit of no thinking about it. It was more like doing it. So
Mm,
the feelings were kind of numb in the way. It was kind of like a survival mode. It wasn't
mhm.
really too emotional, although it was a little bit tiring because after running and hiding, the guy who was guiding us and everything, he says, "Don't worry, if you guys get caught, we guarantee we take you back and we cross you with the same for the same price. Don't worry."
Mhm.
But also later on, I realized that I said, well, at this group of people, I could have been killed, I could have been robbed, I could have been beaten, but nothing like that happened. So I guess I went with that drive to go and do it, which is sometimes what people were facing with breaking the old habits and doing things. The discipline is start building into myself as I start living all these different challenges. So the adversity wasn't like so heavy on me. They put me down in the depression. It was kind of like saying, I'm gonna find a way. I'm gonna adapt. I'm not just gonna reject, because rejecting fear is like being paralyzed, like not really doing it. And I think in the world and the society, people looking for perfection when there is no perfection. There is just action and results. And I think my program teaches that as well. And I said, well, you're not looking to be the best. You're gonna be doing your best every day.
There it
Wow.
is.
No, it's good stuff. Walt, do you got anything?
Hey man, I'm intrigued because just from a humanitarian perspective, right? One, the skill set you developed as a kid gave you the wherewithal to do what you're doing now, right? That determination and the persistence. So I I'm not a weightlifting guy, but my cousin, when I used to go back and forth to LA a lot, he was one of the Gold's Gym guys around that time period, believe it or not, probably maybe 3, 4 years before you. But I remember going into the Gold's Gym and seeing all the celebrity guys and the pictures on the wall. I remember going down to Venice Beach, which is probably about 3 blocks, 2 blocks maybe. And
Yeah.
the guys working out in the pit. Jack, that's what you usually see when you see those California movies of the guys lifting
Right.
weights on Venice Beach. That's usually down the street from the Golds. But
Mhm.
then, you know, the fact that you you were determined to go over to come across the border and get a skill set, and basically, like you said, you didn't know you were the expert, but you're getting your 10,000 hours, you know, Gladwell, whether you realize it or not. And all of those things now, what you're teaching people and training people to be, not the best, but the best they can be, which may very well make them the best. It's like, it just goes to show you that no matter where you're from, people to people, that's a skill set that travels a long way. And if anyone watching this takes anything from it, you're a no excuses type of guy, man. And I respect that, because we all make excuses of why we can't do things. And we all give ourselves 1,000 reasons, me included, why we can't do things. But the moment you take action, like you said, there's action and then there's inaction. The moment you take action, you kind of get towards your goal. And then you get to see truly whether you want to do it or not. I mean, because you got to go towards it to really see if you want to do it or not. So I'm just looking at all these life lessons. And like you said, we come from two totally different cultures, but people are people. It's the same thing that we learned, Jack, growing up, especially you, Jack, as an athlete. It's the same thing. It's no secret sauce. It's the same thing, man. And I'm really like intrigued to hear this because there's no separation of success. Is the formula for success is basically learn your craft, perfect your craft. And I mean that's just I'm hearing you say it like like you grew up in California, and that wasn't the case. Coming across the border, especially in this day and time, just hearing that it just shows me how far we've come in the last 30 years, right? I mean, so that's just I'm just intrigued, man. I mean, and here you are, and then you back in Mexico. So how did you get back in Mexico? Why did you go back to
That
Mexico?
that's the other season of my
Hmm.
Netflix story, which after I became a personal trainer, after I trained this guy and another client that was a very key part in my growing up as
Hmm.
a personal trainer, I started going to that church. I became a disciple. I started going to really connect that mind and body with the faith and
Hmm.
learning that God already equipped everybody with everything that we need,
Just gotta get to it.
but
Mhm.
sometimes we still refuse to believe that because we always asking for things. Like when
Yes.
we were going, in a child environment and saying, "Well, mom, I'm hungry. Mom, I'm cold. Mom, I want this," but never to what can I do? How can I serve? The sometimes that discipline it feels like I don't like it. It's too hard. It's too cold. Too hot. And then the emotions start kind of going into reverse psychology to our parents. We cry and we get attention. We do things to get attention, but we're not strong enough to take charge of our own life.
Right.
And that's
Wow.
one of the big problems, I think, to realize that we all need to be students, to be upgrading our life, how we think, how we feel, and how we act,
Yeah.
which is
You
what
know,
part of, go ahead.
sorry. No, no, no. I'm sorry.
That's part of my program. My program is connecting mind and body, and it has 3 points key in order to become your best version. The first one is identify the stress that attacks your body, physical and mental.
Hmm.
And I went back to when your neck hurts.
Hmm.
If you don't look for the origin of what the neck hurts, you're gonna be living with the painkillers. But I do an evaluation, posture evaluation, to tell people where are the pinpoint problems then they have. They might have an accident, they have a scoliosis, they may have some surgery, they may have some bad posture where they do things, exercising, sitting, walking, driving. So when the person sees themselves, not what I said, but
Hmm.
what they see, they can
Hmm.
pinpoint and say, well, it's because your shoulder is rotated because you're doing the
Hmm.
mouse thing a lot. So you got to
Hmm.
change it. So I teach people how to identify that, how to start changing the posture, how you breathe, how you stand, and that is going to change how you feel.
How you feel?
Because if you stand better, you put
Hmm.
your feet flat, you suck your stomach, and you keep your chin up, your body is going to adjust and it's going to feel different. And that's going to give you self confidence and saying, hey, I feel good, I look good. In 10 minutes, you can look good and feel good doing those three things. Then you're gonna feel more inclined to eat well because
Hmm.
to learn how to eat well, you go to Google or YouTube and you find out. But if you
Right.
don't feel good, even though you know what to do, you don't do it. You resource for cookies, for drinking, for
Hmm.
any palliatives. But
Ice
when
cream.
you know what's your good posture and you feel better,
Hmm.
you eat better, not to conform with the diet for because diet for me is a dead sentence. It's like a cage.
Mm.
How long it's gonna take? I don't like it. It's too much. It's too costly. I don't have
Hmm.
time. But when I give you choices and you feel better, you gotta say, I'm gonna eat and enjoy the food and I'm nourishing my body. I'm not eating just for pleasure. I'm
Hmm.
eating for improving my life. And then the third part is what type of physical activity you do to make you more dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Are you doing Zumba or CrossFit just because the trend, or because that is the ideal exercise for you? So I teach people based on their anatomic and age,
Mm-hmm.
what is the best activity for you to improve your body, to give you more energy.
Mm.
And then people start feeling better because it's a change in your lifestyle.
It's a
It's not
lifestyle
it's
change.
not just temporary. It's not just
Right.
because the December and the curve of January saying you feel guilty because you ate all that stuff and you didn't do anything. And by this month, the third month of the year, people already down in their resolution. The New Year
Oh yeah.
resolution is gone because I said, I went to the gym, I bought that clothes, I said I was gonna eat good, but it's not me because it's not life change. You
Right.
did something just to kind of get with everybody's approval. But when I do that coaching thing, people start feeling more secure because it's a life change.
It,
Yeah.
it's funny when you say that to me because just today, like I play this game with myself while I'm walking, right? And you see things, and we're taught to read from left to right, right? That's the way we're taught to read. You read from your left to your right. So we have a tendency to. I would play a lot of brain games. So we have a tendency to miss a lot of words, a lot of things because our brain just is comfortable with these things. So we just kind of skip over them. So today I'm walking and I just started looking at things from right to left. And I'm amazed at how much stuff that I've saw today that I have missed walking this route that I take. I mean, so just like you said, with the gasoline, I'm a motorcycle guy. It takes 93. We're going across the country. You can't get 93, and we're sitting here today discussing. All right, man. When we get through these states, they don't have 93. What are we going to do? How are we going to handle that? So it's all connected, like you said, body and soul, brain and body, and it's amazing what we take for granted. But once we make the change, then we kind of feel the difference long before you see a difference. And I guess that's the part that makes people stick in. Do you find that to be true? For people to stick with your routine, once they feel better, they'll appreciate what's going on, and then they have more of a tendency to stay. Or is it you looking for or is the person like, if I haven't lost 50 pounds this month, I'm done? What is your experience with that?
Well, I was going through different demographics and different
Mm-hmm.
people's lifestyle when I was trained as a personal trainer and using the nutrition. And I found out the only people who already pursuing become healthier are the ones that have a lot more high percentage to maintain and to
Mm-hmm.
improve their health
Okay.
versus the people who have the problem and they get stressed out and they want to change it, because sometimes the emotion comes from a place that you want to do something because you can't stand it. But is that just emotion or is it commitment? Because sometimes the commitment has to be stronger than the emotion, because the emotion can last 90 seconds,
Mm-hmm.
but the commitment is you're going to do it no matter what. So I call it the non-negotiable habits. The personal
Mm-hmm.
non-negotiable habits that I have every day. I wake up sometimes a bit more early, sometimes a little bit
Mm-hmm.
less, but I go out and pray, a prayer
Mm-hmm.
walk, to connect with myself and with God, and to feel more free from anything
Mm-hmm.
from the outside, because I'm preparing my
Yeah.
mind to
Yeah.
that day with gratitude
Yes.
and stating that I'm already equipped with what I need. That I don't need to be asking for more stuff, maybe just more
Mm-hmm.
awareness
Right.
to
Right.
see things that I need to be aware and work on it. And that is part of my routine as I start preparing some of the food for my son. Now I live with my son back here in
Mhm.
Mexico because the other story is I got deported after I got married at the church. I got two kids, the first one with autism, the second one, okay. And after I filed to become illegal before I got married,
Mhm.
my case was kind of postponed because there was no really evidence for me to get the green card. So when I got married with an American citizen, the process was delayed and years passed by. And anyway, the story short was the old case got dismissed and they started chasing me without me noticing. So they were
Wow.
trying to look for me. And one of those days, pulling out the garage with the kids in the van, there were the agents right there at the door saying, "Are you Alfredo?" "Yeah." "Okay, park your car. We have a deportation order." "Where's your
Mm.
wife?" "Upstairs." Someone went upstairs, brought it down. The kids were small, like 5 and 3 years old. And they said, "We gotta go." So my wife kind of knew because we were, marriage and going through that process. So I tell the kids, "I talk to you later. Everything is gonna be okay." These
Mhm.
guys put me handcuffs, put me in a van. A few hours later, I was in the bus going back to TJ,
Like
to the border
Tijuana.
Mm,
of Mexico.
right.
Mhm.
And that's when my other season began.
Mm, wow.
Wow. Let me ask you this real quick. Um, Now everybody has a fitness watch. You got an Apple Watch. You got a Fitbit. You have all these things. I noticed that when I started tracking how much I really was eating, I, my fitness, my levels started to get better. I mean, like when I started really, some of these apps you can just record or take a picture of what you're eating. When I realized how much I was eating, and I didn't even realize I was eating, I didn't even realize how much I was eating, how many calories I was taking in. It just got, man, it's just like my whole situation just changed, and that's been a couple of years now, but it's just changed. I mean, which is pretty cool. Do you find, is that something that you recommend, or is that like an accountability piece for people who are maybe don't have a trainer like you? How do you feel about that? I mean, do you think people realize, the average person realizes how much they actually eat in the course of a day?
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. And even though technology has been very good in different parts
Hmm.
for our lives,
Hmm.
I realize that once you really make that uh, awareness and
Hmm.
how you do things or how you've been eating things make a difference. I normally tell people to start developing these habits in a slow process. I normally,
Hmm.
the program that I run is 90 days because 90 days takes also for the child
It's
when
a
it's
habit.
born to
Yeah.
triplicate the weight.
Right.
So in order to change a habit
Hmm.
and make your mind and your body change, it takes about 8 to
90
12
days.
weeks to
Yeah.
do in a slow process. With some people, it's different. But when
Hmm.
I do a coaching once a week with a person to help them if they use a tracking device, if they use an
Hmm.
application, not to
Hmm.
rely on that, but to
Right.
use it as an ally
Right.
and reinforce with some accountability partner, which is what I
Hmm.
do,
Hmm.
to be consistent in that particular personal change,
Hmm.
not my own, but them, because I'm just the guide to enable the person that says, "You're able to. I'm here for you, not to judge you,
Hmm.
not to criticize you, but to help you to see that you're on the right track." And
Hmm.
every day, if you do a 1% of improvement, it will make the
1%.
whole difference because it's no one else's business. Not your wife, not your kids, not your friends, nobody but you. The one that
That's
you
right.
should be doing a high five every day to
Hmm.
empower yourself. Besides, if you have some belief and you connect with the higher power, that you do it yourself because you're able to.
Right.
Hmm.
Wow.
If you
Wow.
see some of the big people in the industry and even the movies, you see Gladiator. What happens with
Mhm.
Gladiator?
No, you're right. Look, Alfredo, now I'm gonna ask you this because you mentioned Netflix series several times, so I know there has to be a book involved somewhere. Have you written your own book of the story from running the streets of Mexico when you was a child to now, or what's going on now? I got the
That's
script in play. What's going on with this?
that's something that has been in my mind for a couple of years, and a friend of mine told me before, and I said, "When are you going to write your own story?"
Hmm.
And I've been picturing, because growing up, I had some dreams, and I was speaking to a big stage. I didn't know what I was saying, but I was with so much passion that I was almost crying because I felt so excited about sharing something. And what I developed in this program, that's the passion that I have. And being invited to be a co-author in this book called Discover Your Greatness. It was written in Spanish in US from
Mm.
12 Mexicans and one from South America. Don Miguel Ruiz, the guy from the Four Agreements, was our godfather. It
Wow.
was another step for me to become aware of what God was giving to me. And then become here in Mexico one of the 33 authors in this book called Repair of the Black Family Anthology, which
Hmm.
it was in English. And I was the only Mexican with 33 authors. It talks about repairing the old baggage that people have been carrying from generations, and
Mm.
how we went in through different routes to find the light and become who we are right now. To answer the question, to write my book, I would love to start getting connected in some way to do that, because I'm excited to share it with the world.
Well, look, I can tell you this, and it's hard to not hard to believe it. We've already crossed the hour mark, but you have an amazing story. I mean, I'm caught in the border crossings and being deported back. The
Man.
work, the people you've seen and faced, the mission that you're on, and even this is the Iron Sharpening Iron Show, and I know we always try to throw. I want to grow stronger. I want to be better. When I have a guest on the show, when this is over, what did I get from this? And the big thing that I'm gonna say that I got right now was the fact that I know I have been putting my life in a box. I've been putting limits to it. I want to lose this much weight. I want to do this much or whatever. Where you're unlimited. There should be no limit. It's funny you're saying this because it was a time I was a power lifter. So I'm in competition and stuff like that. But I never went into competition saying I only want to lift 600 pounds. When I put the weight on there, if I hit the 600, then I say put 605 or 610 on there because there's no limit. But now I find myself limited myself to say I'm only going to do this. So that's where I appreciate you because now you you made my mind spin a different way because it's like you didn't limit yourself when you were younger and you was
Right.
pushing that weight up. So don't limit yourself when it's time to take the weight off because we say, "Oh, I'm gonna get 5 pounds." You get the 5 pounds and you stop. It's like, okay, five was just a beginning, and now let's chop off the rest of it or whatever. So I want to thank you. I really want to thank you for being on the Iron Shopping Iron Show today. Your story is amazing. If I was watching on Netflix, I would sit there and binge watch. I would watch
Yeah.
season after season. So I really thank you for sure for being on here. I'm gonna ask you just to hang over just a little bit, talk to you behind the stage if that's okay.
Yes.
Walt, you got anything you need to say?
No. Alfredo, it's been fun, man. It was a quick hour, but thank you. I mean, I just it makes me realize, man, just once again that people, humanity is all connected, man. I mean, it is just yeah. So I salute you for that. What you've been through. I'm waiting for the book. I'm looking forward to the book. That'll be
Mm.
interesting. Yeah. And I've already joined you. Give us your Instagram and your Facebook and all that good stuff if you don't mind.
Yeah, the easy one that I got is the
Mhm.
Instagram handle is Alfredo Zapata Coach,
Okay.
and that's the one that I can connect with people even faster. Facebook as well, Alfredo Zapata, but Instagram is the one that I've been a lot more exposed, and is Alfredo
Hmm.
Zapata Coach. And I'll be
Hmm.
happy to connect with you guys, and and see what can we get together and do.
Well, I already know
Okay.
you raised your prices 4 times. So I can't afford you, so
Mhm.
I'm gonna have to get the discount on that one. So no, I'm just
Exactly.
joking.
Let me say
Just
this.
joking.
Let me say this. What you said about your prices, and the person said about you being an expert. That's another life lesson, because it's amazing how the brain works. When we think something is too accessible, we think it's not good. And the moment the price is raised, wow, that must be pretty good. And
Mhm.
that's a prime example of the people that's going to pay you to do what you do, that are willing to pay that price. You probably get a better client coming through the door because of the sense of loss. People will run towards they will run towards not losing something quicker than gaining something. So that was a pretty good move too. And I did not talk about that, but that was a pretty good business move.
No.
So thank you.
And the thing
Yeah.
is, and Alfredo, you mentioned it, and I know we're gonna close out, but you said, driving that Porsche, you got a Porsche, and the cost of a Porsche is a whole lot more than my Nissan, uh,
Mhm.
whatever Nissan. I drive Toyota, so that's why I didn't shoot down Toyota. But
Uh,
but the thing is, because I paid 90,000, 100,000 for this vehicle, I'm gonna treat it better than I treat. So when they come to you as a coach and I'm paying top dollar, like I said, that's an investment in you. And it's not about and I like the way you said that about it's not your wife, it's not your kids, even though you do things for them because you want to be around for them, but you got
yeah.
to give yourself the high five. Hey,
Except the high
let's go.
five.
You can
Yeah.
do this thing. Motivate yourself
Mhm.
to get out there and push it and get through. So look, I can already tell just by this conversation that you're a motivational coach, that you can help somebody get from point A to point B if they would just dedicate and being there beside them as they go through the journey. I can already see your value. So I want to thank you, and I want to thank you.
Yes, sir.
If you are
Thank you.
watching this show right now, and if you're out here and you're chilling and checking us out on the Iron Sharpening Iron Show and the Iron Sharpening Iron Universe, we thank you for hanging out with us. We ask you to come back and watch other episodes, not only the Iron Sharpening Iron Show, but all the shows that fall under the universe, because each and every one got something for you. Because remember, we are stronger together. That if each one would reach one, we can all grow and glow. But until next time, we're going to tell you to take care of yourself, as Alfredo say, mind, body, and soul. And you'll be surprised what your life can end up being. So until then, stay sharp, and we talk to you later. Alfredo, stay back,
Peace.
please. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Too.